So we did a poll in the group, and by far and away, you all chose to work with the Earth Magic deck. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do a 12-month card reading. I did this last year. I did it the year before just for myself with a friend. It was guided by Cassie Uhl, UHL, and she introduced me to taking the time in the beginning of the year to do a whole 12-month reading. And it was super fun. It was really neat. And it's neat to come back and check each month what the card was and see how it's sort of playing out for you. And I know last year we did the Rainbow Warrior deck, and I looked back at it almost every month. There are a few months in the middle there, I forgot about it. But it was great to have that YouTube video up so that I could go and check out each month and see what the energy was. So I encourage you to do that throughout the year of 2023 and go check back at what card we pulled today and see what your message is for each month. So here is what we did last year. We used this deck called the Rainbow Warrior. So I wanted to do something different. So I didn't put that one in the poll. You can check that one out if you want to see those cards in last year's video at Kristen Fagan Art on YouTube. And this year we're going to do Earth Magic, which is one of my first Oracle decks I ever purchased. And probably for the same reason a lot of you were intrigued. Earth Magic just speaks to me. The name is just everything. I just love it. And I'm sure that's why a lot of you chose it too. And there's a lot of really good, fun wisdom in here. We're gonna start with a little clearing meditation. I have a lot of extra energy right now. And I thought that it would be really nice to just do real fast little visualization from my 10 to Your Vibration guidebook by Carrie Berkey. She's one of my dear friends. I actually painted the cover for her. So this is all of my artwork on her cover. And she put together this beautiful guidebook just filled with all sorts of loving, intentional living information and visualizations, meditations. She's got a whole animal guide meditation in here and information about different animal guides. And we have done a workshop together in person, as well as have one available virtually, all about finding your animal guide and then painting your animal guide. And you could find more information about the workshop that combines the meditation and the painting on my website, KristenFagan.com, as well as on her website, Kerry, Kerry, Berkey, Burki.com. So just a shout out to her. I'll be using her guidebook for our visualization. We're gonna do the clearing visualization. So we'll start the year, start this video, start our card pull with just clearing some of our energy out and coming here to connect with our positive energy and vibrations, okay? So let's find ourselves in a comfortable seated position. Give your shoulders a little roll. Go ahead and close your eyes. And taking in some deep breaths in and out of your nose. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And now just imagine a silvery full moon. We have a full moon last night. That energy carries into today. So let's go ahead and imagine a large, silvery, full moon above our head. Picture that bright, bluish, cooling light just expand. Picture it above your head and moving down through and around your body. This bright, cooling, silvery moonlight around your head, down your body, around your sides, expanding, cover the front of you, cover the back of you, until you are just engulfed in this beautiful, blue, silvery, full moon energy. Imagine its cooling energy just dissolves all of the negative things that might be in your field around you. Just dissolving it all away. Anything you may have picked up and held on to, just let it all go. Just let it dissolve and clear anything that is not yours, any energy that's not yours to hold on to. You may repeat, I choose to clear the negative energy around me and connect with my positive vibrations. You may want to further say, my aura is now filled with positive energy. And let's just take another deep breath in. Just allow all of that light. If you want to move your hands around like I am and just clear, I have my fingers just sort of starting in close to my body and clearing out anything negative, just pulling it away. Then we'll take another deep breath in and bring yourself back to center. Bring yourself back to the right here and the right now. You might want to wiggle your toes, roll your ankles and your wrists, and wake your body back up a bit. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. I'll take a few more shoulder rolls. Oh my gosh. I hope you feel a new sense of being and of positive energy in and around you. Ooh. Let me know how you feel. Oh, James is here. That was nice, he says. Thanks, James. I got all tingly, which is interesting because when I'm doing the reading, I sometimes aren't able to fully drop in, you know, but I felt like I did. And I got all kind of tingly. Let all that energy go and bring ourselves here. All right, so let's turn the camera down and let's start pulling our cards and see what 2023 has in store for us, what earth magic is in store for all of us. Okay. So now that we're right side around, I'll just share this guidebook with you one more time. That's where I took the visualization from, and I just switched it up a little bit in the moment, but you get the gist of that whole visualization there in the guidebook by Carrie. So these are the Earth Magic cards. They're by Stephen D. Farmer, and they come with this really lovely guidebook. So these cards have a beautiful tree on all of them with different seasons. And lots of gorgeous, I know, so much green on my screen right now. And I picked up this lovely blue-green stone today. And I also have a moss agate tower, which is all green right here. I'm just feeling, and I've got some, this one was the celestial quartz I picked up. And I've got some black tourmaline. So I'm definitely pulling in a lot of earth energy here with our earth magic cards. So let's pull our first card. I'm going to be pulling these cards for the collective. For all of us, what kind of energy do we need to know about in January? And this just sort of popped right out. Sometimes I shuffle and pull, and sometimes I just if a card just pops out, I let that be the card, because that's just telling me that there's something there. So our card for January is Island, and our word is solitude. So I'll pull out my guidebook, and I'm just going to read a little bit about our card. So island, solitude. The solitary tree on this island is surrounded by the glassy sea, can evoke different feelings depending on one person's perception and beliefs. The tree, which is in full bloom, stands out amid the relative starkness and is illuminated by a beam of light emerging from the otherwise dark sky. It's an elegant reminder of how even in what might appear to be relatively barren circumstances, there is still beauty and growth. Although an island like this can be a metaphor for isolation and desolation, the thriving tree proves that even in the harshest of environments, there is life. We can see the tree's spider-like roots spreading out along the rocks, seeking nourishment from the moist soil. The sense of peace and solitude depicted in this image provides nourishment for the soul. So this card is saying here that you need to take some time for solitude, preferably in silence. Spend the morning, afternoon, or even the entire day by yourself. Completely unplanned and unstructured, the bombardment of your senses by the noise and intensity of society leaves you on alert far more than necessary. The vibration of millions of people's worry and fear throughout the world can impinge upon you and greatly affect you if you do not honor your need to pull back from time to time. When you have passed through any self-constructed barriers to enjoying the quiet peace of solitude, it will serve you best if you simply observe the thoughts and emotions that pass through you, especially those that cause shortness of breath or a quickening heartbeat. Remember that isolation is experienced not by choice, but out of fear. When you decide to spend time with yourself in solitude, however, you are choosing to once again find and connect with who you really are. Oh, I think that's a lovely message for the beginning of the year when we're coming off of so much busyness and hecticness and lots of tough energy in the year that just passed, to find some time this month to purposefully give yourself some quiet time in solitude. So there's January. Now let's see what February has in store. What does February have in store for us? What can we look forward to or energy to work with in February? And you're welcome to tell me how you feel about the card after I'm done reading about it. Janine says that ties into my self-care theme for this year. Perfectly. It really does. I was just listening to a podcast this morning, actually, that was specifically talking about taking time in the morning and setting up your morning in a way to be really nourishing along that same line. Oh, so this is interesting. In February, we have some summer, some warmth energy. Radiance and summer solstice is our card for February. Yes, Catherine says, seems perfect for the deep quiet of this year while rejuvenate and recharge. I thought so too when I pulled it. I said, oh, that just seems like a good January card. So February is radiance. The word solstice originates from the Latin word solstium, which means stationary or stopped, and sun. This is because twice during the solar year, the sun appears to rise and set in the same place for several days. It seems to be taking a much-needed rest before making the next circuit across the sky from one solstice to the next. Its ceaseless, predictable certainty having existed since before the time of our ancestors. There are stories in many cultures that personify the sun as a deity, either male or female, often riding the sun across the sky in a boat or chariot. With the summer solstice comes the culmination of the sun's travels that have led to the longest days of the year. The light is now at its fullest and has provided its own brand of nourishment to the land and all of its inhabitants. Celebrations and ceremonies abound. Passion and playfulness are the themes. We feel an innate desire to be outdoors in the natural world and reap the benefits of the longest days of the year. We instinctively seek the light, and during this cycle, there is an abundance of it. So our message for February is to let the radiance of the sun inspire your inner radiance to shine forth. Release your concerns about what may happen in the future and focus on appreciating everything you have that is good and right. Allow Father Sun to take away your worries and cares. Do something physically active to stimulate your inner light. Dance, sing, but most important, get outdoors. Do not let any negative thoughts or habits stop you. When you are in love with life, you naturally radiate that love. During this part of your cycle, your capacity to love is greatly amplified. Isn't that nice for February? February is always a really good time to think about love, your self-love, your love for your friends, your family, and other people in your life. The more love you give, the more returns to you. It starts by allowing the radiant being you truly are to be expressed into the world. Smile a little bit more, notice the beauty of nature, see the humor in the paradoxes of life, show your love, especially to those with whom you are closest. Then smile even more and watch how the world around you lights up. So even though it's a little sometimes strange feeling to pull this summer solstice card when it's not summertime, the message is still really on point, I think, for the month of February. And I also think it's really a nice way to take that deep inner work and quiet you did in January and then express it in the radiance and the love of February. Oh, Catherine says it sort of aligns with her words for this year. She has goosebumps. Oh, that's the best. Okay, so let's think about March. What are we bringing in? What does the collective need for March? And this one jumped out. I have to pick it up off the floor. This one is a great card. They're all great, but this one is super, super cool. Wind and activation for March, which I don't know about you, but I always start to feel so much more active and I'm very goal-oriented in the March and the April time of the year. So that's kind of interesting. When I look at my own cycles of throughout the year, what months tend to be more active and more involved in things, March tends to be that. So Janine says, it's continuing to tie into her theme as well. Also intending to get out in my kayak more. So getting out in nature fits with this. That's perfect. So moving into March, we've got wind and activation. The various currents of air that circulate on our planet can be gentle enough to tickle the hairs on our arms or so fierce that they destroy man-made structures as well as trees and other vegetation. Wind moves the air to circulate the atmosphere and keep it from becoming stagnant. When there's no movement, the atmosphere feels somehow heavier. Gentle breezes help cool the land and pollinate flowers, whereas more heavy winds can snap tree branches off and stir something deeply within us. More violent winds can create temporary chaos with their ferocity. No matter the degree of intensity, wind will activate us. In this image, the breath of the god of wind stirs the sea and rearranges the sky. As this occurs, the weather shifts. The effects, even in this small area, send ripples throughout, blending and dancing with the water and the sky. It activates the atmosphere, and the world feels more alive when there is wind. So our message for March is the lethargy you feel is the result of a lack of activation. In other words, something that stirs your senses. This could be anything from walking outdoors, feeling the breeze on your body, or inhaling the different aromas that nature herself provides. It could be finding the pleasure in a warm bath that helps you release tension and stress from your mind and body. Music may activate your hearing, which sparks the pleasure centers in your brain. Art may activate your emotional responses. The touch of another human may activate a deep need to be physically held in some manner once again. Now is the time for action. Engage in some activity and be fully present so that you forget about your surroundings and enter into a timeless and multidimensional experience of union with focus of your creative attention. Let your physical body be active. Movement alone, whether quietly dancing by yourself or hiking up that hill over yonder, will require you to be as present as possible in your body. Enjoy. So March is all about being active, creatively active, embracing all your senses, moving your body, music, smell, art, all of that. Melanie says that is like flow, like wind, definitely. I always think of it too as just pushing things away. Like if you are feeling a little stagnant, the wind just gets stuff moving. Very similar to the clearing visualization we did today. So dissolve that energy and let it blow away and invite in new energy and new ideas. So fun. So we've got January, February, and March. Our first 3 months of the year. All right, moving on to April. Oh, this is such a fun process. So I got forest and breath for April. So one thing to note about this deck is very interesting is I believe that they're all done by different artists. So it's not just one artist that created this whole oracle deck. Each of these pictures, and that's why you'll see as we go on, they may have a very different feel because each of these pictures are done by someone else. Yeah, in the back they have all of the names of all the different people that contributed. So I think that makes this a pretty special deck for that reason. Catherine says, so much goodness. This forest one is right up your alley. Forest breath as we make our way across the meadow to the thicker parts of the forest. There's a subtle shift in the sensations in the body, one that might initially be barely perceptible, but soon become undeniable. It's nearly impossible not to take deeper breaths. The richness of the forest oxygen, given freely and generously from the trees to us, is a natural exchange for the carbon dioxide we release every time we exhale. Further, the animals of the forest participate in this exchange as well in what is one of the most miraculous and remarkable collaborations between plants and animals that serve to help each other live and thrive. This ratio of oxygen-carbon dioxide exchange has been in balance for millennia, but has been changing quite dramatically in the last several years as carbon dioxide levels have risen. Yet there are many parts of the world where we can still enjoy the refreshing and revitalizing effects of an afternoon enjoying the sights and sounds and smells of a walk in the forest. Through prayer and action, we can express our gratitude to these tree beings for the many gifts they provide, not the least of which is contributing to the very air we breathe. Things are just different after a walk in the forest. So our message for April is that your breathing is too shallow. Although it may feel natural, it is an unhealthy habit that causes the shortness of breath. When you subconsciously shorten your breath, no matter if this is habitual or triggered by some event or circumstance, it activates certain physiological signals that prepare your system for a fight or flight. Another conditioned response to perceived danger is to hold your breath. This is your survival response, although it does not serve you to do so. So breathe, inhale deeply. Regardless of your concerns, worries, or problems, then let it go. Next, allow yourself to breathe a little deeper and slower a few times. Remember that every breath you inhale is a gift, and every breath you exhale is a gift. The forest is a clear reminder of how this works. Oh, after all of that action and wind and activation of March, April is coming in to remind us to slow down, take some deep breaths, some nice walks in the forest, and to bring ourselves kind of back to center. All right, Earth Magic cards, what do we have for May? I feel like this is such a jumpy deck. Some decks I shuffle and cards like just never pop out. And this deck, I always get jumping cards. Ooh. Maybe April is setting us up to calm our nerves and relax because we've got a volcano in May. Volatility is what's coming up for May. I don't know that card very well, so let me see what that one has to say. We're talking about Pele, the goddess on the big island of Hawaii, dwelling there in the craters of the active volcano. Oh, I'm not going to say it right. Kilauea? She is considered passionate, volatile, and capricious, and is perhaps the best known of the Hawaiian deities. Since 1983, she has been sending ribbons of lava down the mountainside and into the sea, thereby creating new land. In this image, we see her subtle visage in the spewing fire of the volcano. In ancient Hawaiian chants, Pele is described as she who shapes the sacred land. And it's from this magnificent and powerful goddess being and her periodic eruptions that new earth is formed as the resulting lava merges with her sister, the goddess of the sea. Kilauea. Thank you, Janine. I know I always butcher Hawaiian words. I want to know them. Kilauea. Thank you. I try, but that was one I have not pronounced before. I appreciate you. The volatile and unpredictable nature of volcanic eruptions is widely known, and in spite of science's efforts at forecasting these blowups, they sometimes happen without warning. Whether the eruptions are slow and steady or violent and explosive, it's an unstoppable force, and one very dramatic way nature changes and shapes the land. Oh, sure. That's how you spell Pele. I have a book all about the goddess Pele from Dawn that I read on the plane last time I was going to and from Hawaii. So I got to give that back to you, Dawn. It was very interesting. I enjoyed it. I learned all about her. Okay, so May is telling us that it may be a particularly volatile time for you. Unexpected changes, sometimes quite sudden and dramatic, are occurring in ways that you have absolutely no control over. These occurrences may be so powerful as to shake up what you formerly thought of as the foundation of your security. They may even cause you to reassess the direction your life is taking, to question some of your relationships, or to reevaluate the work you have chosen. Although these events may rock your world, know that spirit is the guiding force behind them. It is a matter of finding your trust that life knows what it is doing in the midst of these storms of change. It also requires you to make adjustments quickly and not to cling to what was, but instead move forward and welcome with your arms wide open what is yet to come. All from a place of being present in this moment. You truly have nothing to fear. Well, while I don't always look forward to these kinds of messages, I do find comfort in knowing that a good reminder that there's nothing to fear. And these moments sometimes shake things up for new things and the greater good to happen. So we'll see. That is our message for May. Oh, Melanie was saying she needs to go to Hawaii in May. I was thinking about going back this year. That would be so lovely. It's such a beautiful place. I really had no idea how magical it was until we went there for our first time in 2021. Ooh. So we've got May and next is June. June is the green man. And our word is synergy. Oh, Janine tries to go every year. Yeah, we went in 2021 for our first time, just my husband and I, and then we took the kids this year. Well, 2022 we took the kids. So those are the 2 times we've been there. But we definitely want to go back. It's just so beautiful and magical. And speaking of wind and activation, there's just this lovely wind all the time. It just feels so aliving. Is that word? Feels a feeling of aliveness. Maybe that's a word. I don't know if aliving is a word. So, who's the green man? The green man is Earth's vegetation personified. Although he has many variations, this card depicts a more subtle and embedded representation. In other portrayals, he resembles the face of a man covered in green foliage as branches and vines sprout from every direction. There exists some form of the green man throughout history and in a myriad of cultures throughout the world. Often a symbol for the rebirth of life in springtime, he's also been associated with the Lord of the Wildwood. So after a little bit of an explosive and volatile May, we've got a card of rebirth of life in June. As a representative of the plant kingdom, Green Man reminds us of the incredible synergy required for Gaia to maintain her delicate and dynamic balance among the various beings on the planet. Synergy is the interaction and cooperation of 2 or more elements that produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate efforts. We witness this in the complex and cooperative interaction between plants, humans, and animals. For instance, fruit trees propagate by being eaten by an animal, and then they get deposited back into the earth after digestion. As a new plant grows, bees pollinate the flowers, and the cycle begins once again in nature's simple yet remarkable synergy. So for June, it says you have the advantage of an incredible synergy at this time. A flow of life is guiding you, where things just seem to fall into place as you move about your business. You are in mutually cooperative interaction with spirit, and your will is aligned with the will of spirit, and your mission is congruent with your sense of purpose. When this is happening, there is a synergy, a way that your life force is continually coming into balance with the forces of nature. There is also a synergy between your spiritual awareness and your personal self or ego. Be aware of the various idiosyncrasies of your ego and do not take any of them too seriously. Know that your higher self is always looking out for your best interest. In this cycle, tune into that guidance, however it shows up, and you will find that you move through life with greater ease due to a synergetic balance of forces expressing themselves as you. I love that. I love that. And synergy might be my word of the year. I've been thinking about ease and flow, but the word synergy was not really on my radar. So that sounds really nice to come to a place here that is just right in ease and flow of who you are. So let's take one more look of April. And then May. Right? Catherine says, so fitting after May makes way for correcting paths for our souls. and June. Oh, so many good messages in here. So after June comes July. So Earth Magic cards, what magical message do you have for the Discover Your Creative Magic Collective for July? Oh, more rebirth. It's almost like June was just getting you back in alignment, was just getting you back in your flow and your synergy and your connectedness. And July is the spring equinox, is the rebirth. This is such a beautiful card. Melanie says, so pretty. It is. I love all these little vines in her hair. So, so pretty. All right, the spring equinox occurs in March, on March 20th or 21st in the Northern Hemisphere, and September 20th or 21st in the Southern Hemisphere. This is the point when the sun crosses the plane of the equator and the day and night are the same length across the planet. Earth Mother is pregnant and birthing once again. Crops can once again be planted. This card features a rendition of Ostara, sometimes spelled like that or like that. She is a Germanic goddess of spring. Ostara is also a Northern European name for Astarte, which means womb, and is another name for Venus, the goddess of love, passion, and creativity. The Christian holiday of Easter stems from this goddess, and in this card, we see some archetypal symbols of spring equinox that represent the rebirth of the world, such as rabbits, eggs, and flowers. It is indeed a time for renewal. So your message here, what was I in July, is that you thought this passage you have been through would never end. Just as certain that the light of the world fades every few months, it makes its return, and the earth rejoices. The fresh breath of spring sweeps away the cobwebs acquired from the absence of the light. The light is now obviously increasing as nature begins to emerge in all of her many forms, shapes, and colors that remind us of the continual cycles of Earth Mother. This cycle of rebirth you are experiencing follows a considerably challenging time. Any tears you may have shed have cleared the way for what has been gestating, which is now ripe and ready to emerge. That which no longer serves you needs to be put to rest so that a freshness and newness of spirit can make itself known to you. Sometimes birth can be painful, particularly in that passage just before delivery, yet what emerges can be fresh and beautiful. Be the emergence of this next cycle with faith and grace. Yeah, that's totally just continuing that we might have a little bit of a rocky May and start to synergize in June and then really come into full rebirth in July. right, let's see what our August holds for us. What magical message do we receive in August? In August, we've got a whale, and it says breach. That kind of feels a bit celebratory to me, don't you think? Let's see what they say. So the whale, this powerful creature of the ocean, takes a few great sweeps with its fins and propels himself briefly out of the waters, where he spends the majority of his life. He's taking a break from the ordinary earth element in which he lives to exist even for a few moments in the realm of the blue skies. And sun. Having broken through the skin of the ocean in a magnificent display of fullness and strength, all baleen whales breach, but none more spectacularly than the humpbacks, considered the acrobats of this family. They arch, stretch, and twist their bodies even as they approach the surface of the water in what may be an ancient mating ritual, a form of communication, or even a way to remove parasites. In this image, the humpback whale that has burst out of the ocean expresses an almost palpable feeling of release and joy. Often when we manage to change our environment, to break through illusory blockages, we experience an intense feeling of relief and can let go of any previously held fears and assumptions of what would happen once we did overcome that barrier. Whether it's material, emotional, or mental, simply getting away from the trance of technology for a few hours and spending that time in nature is a breach from the trappings of civilization that can suffocate us and prevent us from connecting to Earth. Oh, so August is telling us it's time to take a break. Not just a coffee break, but a respite from the usual environment you find yourself in. That trip you wanted to take, go for it. Tired of being indoors, make it a point to get outside. You have become so attached to your surroundings that you have created within them an illusion of safety. Yet it is not these things that make you feel safe. Rather, the familiarity you have imbued in your surroundings have generated this false sense of security. Taking time away from the familiar is literally about changing your external environment in a significant way, such as doing something unusual or perhaps something you have always wanted to experience. Another perspective is breaking through the barrier of beliefs that have constricted you in any way from being who you truly are. This is your opportunity to do some intentional breaching of these thought patterns, which will open you up to different worlds and perspective. Dawn says, I think this is telling us all to travel more. Yeah, you can definitely take that as a sign of travel, getting out of your comfortable surroundings and exploring something new. And it could be as simple as, exploring something close by, but maybe traveling outside of your everyday world, doing something different and exciting, something that will elicit joy. I sure would like to travel more. That's true. Islands, forests, and change of scenery. Travel, travel, travel. Yes. Well, this whole deck is just full of all earthly things, so it makes sense that it's going to kind of travel us around in all of these wonderful, magical places. And if that's the message you're getting from it, then it's true. Maybe you do need to travel more. You have tended to travel often, but I feel like you have not so much the last few years. So maybe this is a message to you to get out and travel more. July, August, September. So for September, we have fairies. We have earth magic. Thank you for keeping me on track. Fairies are nature spirits thought to be descended from the early tribes, particularly those associated with the goddess Dana, who once ruled Ireland, that inhabited the British Isles. Over time, these ancient people were conquered and displaced, and they fled to areas where humans didn't venture, ultimately becoming increasingly smaller and less visible in order to better hide themselves. Fairies have assumed responsibility for the plants and trees. They work with earth magic to take care of these beings, and if you ask, they'll help you with your garden or yard. They also have the power of enchantment and shape-shifting. Fairies appreciate it when we show them through our actions that we love the earth as much as they do, and consequently, they bestow a little of their earth magic upon us. So for September, our message is that you have the same power available to you as the fairies do. It starts with loving the earth through your heartfelt gratitude and appreciation, but more important, through your actions. The fairies can help you reconnect in a more intimate way with the earth, and all they require is your willingness to pay attention to the trees and plant life around you and demonstrate your care. Whether you live in a small space or have an expanse of land, make it a point to be especially attentive to your surrounding vegetation. Plant something, get your hands in the dirt, and do so with love and enthusiasm. Every flower, tree, or shrub you are tending is a living being, so treat each like you would a dear friend and ask the fairies to help you take care of these friends, and you will be rewarded many times over. So September is all about getting into your yard, plants, tending to them, taking care. Dawn says, that's why my oranges are growing so good, because I talk to my yard all the time. You give them their love, let them know you care, and they, in turn, reward you back with beautiful oranges. So we've got July, rebirth. August is breach. And September is earth magic. All right, let's see. I feel like we've mellowed out our, whoa, I didn't even get a chance to say anything and this one popped out of the deck. We mellowed out a little bit in the middle of the year. Now we're coming up into the last 3 months of 2023. Aw, Catherine says, me too. I hug them and kiss their leaves. And they're working on a green perimeter forest around the yard. Oh, green, that makes sense. I thought maybe it was something I didn't know. A green perimeter forest around our yard. I'm so excited for all the supportive messages. So coming into October, the card that just jumped right out of me is the lotus flower and unfoldment. Not a peaceful looking, pretty card. So we're in October. Unfoldment. The lotus flower sits upon one of its leaves, having risen to the surface as the sun, held in the hand of God, invites it upward to the light. This unique plant is rooted in the mud and muck at the bottom of a body of water, its stem reaching up to the surface where the leaves rest quietly. At night, the flower closes and sinks below the surface, only to rise with the daylight and once again gradually unfold its petals, its stem extending above the waterline 3 feet or more. What we learn from this amazing plant is how our own spiritual path unfolds and opens to the light. Then at times, gently folds in on itself for a proper rest when the daylight fades. This period is just as necessary as the growth, for it allows the plant to integrate what it has gained in nourishment during the day. It's also just as important as it's rooted as yet another miracle of nature that something so exquisitely beautiful is formed from the mud and silt at the water's bottom. So your message for October is your spiritual unfoldment is occurring at all times, whether or not you are aware of it. It is inevitable as long as you put your trust in the hands of the Creator, the one who holds the light. Like the lotus, your soul is always reaching for the light to fulfill its karmic destiny. But even in that process, there are periods of darkness and times to rest. It's a natural cycle, one that cannot truly be coerced or halted. It has an innate rhythm of its own, one that is unique to the being that is you. You do not need to strive or be driven by spiritual ambition. It does no good to try to force growth upon yourself or others for that matter. Allowing is the key here. Allow the place in you that naturally wants to follow the light to do so while recognizing that even when you have complete faith, you will face challenges and occasionally suffering. Your steady faith and love will guide you on your journey of returning to the light. So it feels like we've got a little message of faith here and a message of sort of the light and the dark working together, which I feel like is such a beautiful message for the month of October. It's October when the veil between the light and the dark is the thinnest, right? So it does feel like a very potent message for that time of year. All right, going down to November. What is coming up for November? Let's see, what kind of magical message is here for the collective for November? Oh, well, November is a little turbulent again with a tsunami wake-up call. And maybe that is sort of setting us up here in October for that, to have faith in what is coming next. What do we got for tsunami? So tsunami is a wake-up call. One of the scariest and more destructive of natural phenomena, along with volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, and tornadoes, a tsunami occurs when a large volume of water is suddenly and rapidly displaced. It's triggered by an undersea disturbance, typically an earthquake or volcanic eruption, that causes a series of powerful waves to travel across the ocean at speeds up to 500 miles per hour. Yet on the open ocean, the height of these waves seems so small that they generally pass unnoticed. As these waves, collectively called a tsunami, get closer to the shoreline, their height increases enormously, even as their speed slows to 50 miles per hour. The distance between the waves can be considerable, taking 20 to 30 minutes from wave to wave. If the trough hits the land first, the water recedes rapidly and dramatically, followed within minutes by an enormous wave that initially comes as a surge. This receding is a clear sign of an impending tsunami. We can't outrun the wave that follows, but we can avoid being swept up in the destruction by moving to higher ground. So, our message for November is that you are getting a wake-up call. It may be in the form of a significant loss or other dramatic event in your life, typically one that you were not prepared for initially. You may feel stunned at first, surprised by the unexpected events that are occurring, yet you also know that it is time to draw back the curtain of avoidance and denial and confront the truth that exists in the subtext of this event. You are experiencing a real-life drama, so there is no need to amplify it more than it already is. Often when you look back after something like this has passed, you can recall signs that foreshadowed it happening. There may have been obvious clues that you ignored or omens that were so subtle they were easy to dismiss as imaginings of the mind rather than the voice of your instinct. There are many anecdotes about animals operating purely on instinct, picking up their cues naturally and seeking higher ground before an approaching tsunami reaches the land. To negotiate this wake-up call, listen closely to your instincts while at the same time seeking the higher ground of spiritual truth. So I feel like for November, it's really telling you to pay attention to some subtle clues or your gut or any instincts that are coming up for you to seek some higher ground and to trust those messages that you receive. Woo-wee. It's tough getting those kind of cards, but, they do happen, and that is the cycle of life. But it's hard to imagine what that could mean. So we have to watch out for May and for November this year. And obviously, that could mean it so many different ways for all of us. But in both cases, I feel it talks about having trust and faith in whatever is happening. Ooh, that's tough. But we're going to end the year on a fiery, passionate note. I know, yikes and stressful, right? It's not fun getting those cards, but maybe if something is going on in those months, that message on the card will be something that will comfort you. So we're ending the year. Jermaine says, and trusting your inner instincts. Totally. 100%. Sometimes it's hard to trust those. So it's a good reminder that around October and November, if you start getting some strange feelings or gut instincts about something, to trust your inner guidance on that. And this is a wild end to the year. Passion and fire. So our message for December to close out 2023 is passion. Since the dawn of humankind, we've been fascinated by fire. As soon as early humans were able to make fire, it changed our lifestyle dramatically. Through its capacity to generate heat and light, fire made it possible to cook food, stay warm in cooler climates, and keep predators away at night. And of course, that huge furnace called the sun is the spark of life here on Earth, bringing not only the necessary warmth of this incredibly huge ball of fire, but also the life-giving rays of light emitted by that fire. In this card, a man is enacting an ancient ceremonial fire dance originating from Samoa, at one time performed to ignite the passion of warriors before battle. Fire can inspire other passions as well. We speak of being on fire or catching fire, phrases signifying that we possess an intense desire or enthusiasm for something. No wonder that passion has come to be associated with fire. So for December, your message is, what are your passions? What turns you on? What ignites that inner flame, that creative spark? When you feel devoid of passion, consider what is missing in your life. It is most likely an absence of fire in your belly, something that makes your heart beat faster and quickens your breathing. Passion is not something that comes from outside of you. Although some events and circumstances can trigger it, it is an intensity of feeling, whether quietly experienced or enthusiastically expressed. Passion can simply be a strong feeling, or the sensation itself can be so powerful that it motivates you to act. This is too often associated exclusively with sexuality, which is certainly one way of experiencing it, yet it limits its meaning and demeans the broader possibilities. Open yourself to the truth of what you are passionate about and find a means to express it. So I feel like we are ending the year in a very passionate, almost symbolically celebratory way, and it's going to have a lot of intense, passionate energy. That's our messages. We've got October, unfoldment. November is a wake-up call. And looking at this before this now, this could even be a wake-up call that you're not paying attention to your passions, that you are allowing other things to tsunami over in your life. And this is a wake-up call to kind of get back to what fires you up. And then you've got this passionate month for December. So that's an interesting way of looking at that card. It feels differently sometimes when you pull the card after it. So November is our wake-up call. And then December is passion. Woo! Melanie says, I'm going to attach all my notes to my calendar on the wall so I can remember to be aware for each month. Yes, and put a note to come back and check out this video if you want to like see the card and hear the reading fresh.